Hi everyone, I'm Tony. The 16th of June, 1983, 27 lives came to an end on this day. Their stories were forgotten for decades and their voices were drowned out by fear and time. Tonight, I am going to uncover this tragedy that should never be forgotten. This is the Hongqigou tragedy. Let us first go back to China in the 1980 seconds. During the Cultural Revolution, there was a small city called Yaxi. There was a workplace here designed to solve employment problems for young people. After the Cultural Revolution, young people from all over the country went back home, one after another. By 1983, those who still stayed here were people who had no connections and could not find jobs. As a result, they all held deep resentment. Yu was one of them, and he was only 19 years old at that time. There are many characters in the following story, and you just need to remember Yu was a well-known local hooligan. 2 months ago, he was arranged to work at the Hongqigou farm here. On a daily basis, he not only did not work hard, but also always bullied others. Over the past 2 months, he had conflicts with others many times and even threatened to kill someone. The farm leaders could do nothing about him, knowing he was a tough nut to crack. Yu had his own motto. If he could not go down in history as a hero, he would rather be infamous forever. And unfortunately, he really made it. On the 16th of June, 1983, Yu did not go to work at the farm as usual. He called 2 scoundrels from his dormitory, Yang and Han, to go to the urban area to eat something nice. These 2 were bad guys too. Yang, 18 years old, had been sentenced to 3 years in prison for theft and had just been released after serving his full term. Han, also 18 years old, had served a 1-year prison sentence for robbery 3 years earlier. These 3 were birds of a feather. They often did evil things and bullied people on the farm, and no one dared to provoke them. Yu was the leader. Han was strong and good at fighting, while Yang was insidious and cunning. After the 3 arrived in the urban area, they had 2 meals and drank a lot of alcohol. Emboldened by the alcohol, Yang took something out of his bag and showed it to the other 2. To their shock, it turned out to be 20 detonators and a 30-meter-long fuse, which he had stolen before. Anyone carrying such things with them was definitely up to no good. After dinner, they met a neighbor on the road and invited him to join them. The 4 of them went on to find a small pub to drink. After drinking, they wandered around the street, recruiting every familiar hooligan they met without mentioning their purpose. Soon, they gathered 9 people, all of whom were hooligans. When such a group of people got together, something terrible was bound to happen. At 10 o'clock that night, Yu led the group back to his dormitory on the farm. He took out his treasured canned fish and white wine and woke up the young men sleeping in the same dormitory to drink with them. An hour later, the 10 of them finished all 6 kilograms of white wine. At 11 o'clock in the evening, Han suddenly pulled out a dagger and stuck it into the table, saying, "We are going to paint the farm red with blood. Do you dare to join us?" Even hooligans did not dare to commit murder. At that moment, the youngest one said, "I don't dare. I can't kill anyone." Unexpectedly, Han stabbed at him immediately. Fortunately, he missed. Frightened, everyone had to agree to join. Only 2 men who were so scared that they wet their pants were excluded, as the group thought they were too useless and would be a burden. Yu told these 2 to lie on the bed and not to move around or make any noise. Later, the group found some knives, farm tools, and other items to use as weapons. At midnight, Yu said to everyone, "Let's start." He opened the door and walked out of the dormitory, with the others following closely behind. The first room they broke into was room 10, where 2 people were asleep. Yu and Han took the lead in killing the 2 sleeping people, and the others rushed forward to stab them repeatedly to make sure they were dead. Their next target was room 8, where 3 people had been woken up by the noise. They thought Yu was coming to make trouble again. Little did they know that Yu had come to take their lives. The gang stabbed the people in the room frantically with knives. In just a few minutes, 5 people had been killed. Hearing the screams, the dormitory security guard put on his clothes, held a candle, and walked into the corridor. Thinking Yu was bullying others again, he shouted loudly, "Stop right there! Go back to bed at once!" The security guard was a former soldier and was armed with a gun to maintain safety on the farm. Afraid of the gun in his hand, Yu and Han pretended to comply, saying, "Let's go, everyone, back to bed." The security guard, who was still groggy, went back to his room to sleep after seeing the group disperse. Once he fell asleep, the gang sneaked into his room, brutally killed him with a hammer, and seized his gun and 30 bullets. Now that the evil gang had a gun, it was obvious that they would commit even more terrifying crimes next. Next, they went to the cafeteria and killed the 2 chefs who were sleeping there. By this time, very few men were left alive on the farm. The gang then turned their attention to the women on the farm. I think you can guess what happened next, but I'll hold off on that for a moment. Yu ordered the others to continue killing the remaining men while he carried the rifle back to the dormitory and smoked 2 cigarettes. Then, holding the gun, he woke up all 17 young women on the farm and imprisoned them collectively in the largest room. The women had no idea of the horrors unfolding across the farm until Yu told them that the place had become a living hell. Led by Yang and Han, the rest of the gang rushed straight to the vegetable garden behind the dormitory. 2 vegetable farmers lived there, and their door was unlocked, so the gang walked right in. At first, the farmers thought bandits were coming and picked up chairs to defend themselves. However, they were outnumbered and quickly killed. There was also a family living near the farm, consisting of a couple, 2 children, and 2 elderly people. They barely had any contact with the farm workers. But by then, the gang had completely lost their humanity. They killed all 6 members of the family, not even sparing a 2-year-old child. By 1 a.m. on June 17, 16 people had been killed on the farm. Everyone gathered together, and the young women held their breath in terror as the gang told them how they had killed those people. Yu ordered the group to check for any survivors and kill them if found. Some of the gang members took the opportunity to steal valuables and cash, stuffing them into their pockets. Yu and 2 accomplices broke into the farm warehouse, moved 4 crates of explosives to the dormitory area, connected them to detonators and fuses, and then fetched several barrels of gasoline. They were ready to blow up the farm at any moment. At 5 a.m., Yu escorted the 17 young women to a cellar about 100 meters behind the farm and tied them to pillars. 8 gangsters locked the iron door of the cellar from the outside. They grabbed some food from the cafeteria, ate and drank while resting, waiting for more people to come to work at the farm the next day so they could continue killing. Starting at 8 a.m., people began to arrive at the farm one after another, some going to work and others coming to look for someone. Tragically, none of those who entered survived. The gang piled up all the bodies in one room to avoid being discovered. By 1 p.m., the number of victims had risen to 20. By this time, 2 of the gang members, overwhelmed by the night of brutal killings, finally got scared and wanted to quit. Yu raised his gun to shoot them, but the 2 begged for mercy, saying they would stay. Yu believed them and spared their lives. However, the 2 took advantage of Yu's inattention and ran away. When Yu found out they had fled, he knew the whole thing would soon be exposed. He then made his final evil moves. Yu took 3 young women away, Yang took another 3, and Han took 2. The rest were left in the cellar. Of course, the ones they took were all the more beautiful or physically attractive women. The 3 men each found a room and sexually assaulted the women. They even did not spare those who were on their menstrual periods. They were no better than beasts. After that, they killed several women who refused to submit to them one after another. In the end, Yu and Han went to the place where they had stored the explosives, planning to blow up the farm. Unfortunately, a cigarette butt they dropped accidentally fell onto the gasoline, and the fuse was ignited immediately. There was a deafening explosion, and flames shot into the sky. The 2 did not have time to escape. One was killed instantly, and the other was seriously injured. The rest of the gang fled in panic when they heard the explosion. The police did not arrive at the farm until after 4 p.m. Yu, who was seriously injured in the explosion, was arrested on the spot. The other gang members who had escaped were also captured a few days later. A total of 27 people were killed in this case, with the youngest victim being only 2 years old. Yu and Yang were sentenced to death. Han was killed in the explosion, and the remaining 5 gang members were sentenced to life imprisonment. 2 months later, China made a decision to launch a 3-year-long campaign to crack down severely on criminal activities. This was China's first strike hard campaign. Whistling at women resulted in 10 years in prison. Peeping resulted in the death penalty. Stealing 1 watermelon resulted in 15 years in prison. During the most severe period, robbing 1 apple resulted in the death penalty. Yu was the trigger. May the Hongqigou tragedy not be just a forgotten tragedy, but a lasting warning. It reminds us that every person has a responsibility to build a world where hope triumphs over despair and no one has to face the darkness alone. That is the end of the story. Thank you all again for your support and encouragement. See you next time.